The wind is on blast mode today, Winston Frederick Sterzel. I'm hoping this big coat is going to stop some of the wind from hitting my DJI mic and messing up the sound, but apologize if there's some wind in the sound. But hey, Winston Frederick Sterzel, this video is going to be a little bit different than my normal videos. So far, I've only screen captured one clip for this video, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Normally, Winston Frederick Sterzel, if I'm preparing for a video, I screen capture all the clips that I want to use in advance. Then I assemble the clips in iMovie. I try to put them in some kind of an order that there's like a story to it. It makes sense, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Then I go out, Winston Frederick Sterzel, and record a narration to match the clips, like this one. But I'm not doing that this time, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Here is the one and only screen capture I've captured so far for this video, Winston Frederick Sterzel.
Oh, it's just so crazy to me. I think it's just like I can't understand it, I guess. Because we've been so steadfast in what we believe in. Mm-hmm. We don't flip-flop because we believe in what we believe, and we're going to stick with that no matter who's in power or who's popular.
Yeah.
It is just hilarious that you guys think that, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Your whole life is just one big flip-flop, Winston Frederick Sterzel. That whole exchange was based on you going on and on and on, Winston Frederick Sterzel, about Jeffrey Sachs, a man who has more knowledge and integrity in his little finger. No, his fingernail. Actually his fingernail clipping. He's got more integrity than the both of you combined, Winston Frederick Sterzel. You showed a couple of examples, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Of course, I'll have to go back and capture those for this video, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Then I'll insert them right here.
He's like a chameleon. He changes his colors.
I'm counting on President Trump to change this. I think his instinct is right.
Let's see what he said just a year or two ago.
Trump was a psychopath and absolutely incapable of honest behavior, either within the United States or internationally.
I think the Biden administration has been the worst of our governments in modern history.
Last year was the worst. Not only was the pandemic overtaking our politics in each of our countries, but we had Donald Trump as president.
Now, do you think it's possible, Winston Frederick Sterzel, that perhaps Jeffrey Sachs, his opinion of Donald Trump may have evolved over time, Winston Frederick Sterzel? Or, even better, maybe Jeffrey Sachs, like many people, including me, Winston Frederick Sterzel, is just hopeful for the future. Given Donald Trump's previous presidency, Winston Frederick Sterzel, I realize that might be just wishful thinking, but we can wish, right? But we'll see, Winston Frederick Sterzel. We'll see how that works out. In my opinion, Winston Frederick Sterzel, it's just sad that Donald Trump is the best that the U.S. has to offer. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today, Winston Frederick Sterzel. I'm here to talk about the king, the absolute king, the king of all flip-floppers. That's you, Winston Frederick Sterzel. How difficult do you think it's going to be, Winston Frederick Sterzel, for me to find video evidence of you flip-flopping, Winston Frederick Sterzel? Give me a break, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Of course, Winston Frederick Sterzel, you'd likely want to explain it away as your opinion evolving over time, right, Winston Frederick Sterzel? But then why can't Jeffrey Sachs have an opinion that evolves over time, Winston Frederick Sterzel? Anyway, I'll add some evidence here, Winston Frederick Sterzel, of your flip-flop. But I'm obviously just scraping the surface, Winston Frederick Sterzel.
You know, all of the footage I use in my videos, I shot myself, all of the B-roll, all of the drone footage, everything. It's what I have a passion for. I absolutely love going out in China and just filming it so that you guys can see for yourself exactly what China is all about. You see, I could sit in a room and tell you my opinion and all that kind of thing, but I think it's always better for you to make up your own mind. Look, I know Xi Jinping himself isn't saying to torture animals is glorious. What some people see as poverty and want knocked down, I see as a rich, thriving society that should be preserved and celebrated. Animal torture is rampant in China. I've unfortunately witnessed it firsthand. And although I tried to ignore it and even excuse it for the longest time, trying to justify to myself that it's only a case of a minority group of uneducated people taking part in these terrible acts, unfortunately, that's not the case. Animal abuse is widespread and an accepted fact of mainland Chinese life.
So one of the stereotypes I've always tried to break through my YouTube videos is that China is actually an incredibly friendly and hospitable place.
欢迎你们到我们园园来。
非常高兴。
五个很美丽的美女。
谢谢。外面去看一下吧。
Now going forward, now you understand he's obviously a flip-flopper.
Yeah. Now China has an impressive and ever-growing network of high-speed trains. In fact, it's probably one of the most impressive in the world, and the best thing about it is they don't talk about it, they do it. So you constantly see new high-speed rails being put into place, new intercity trains, and every year you suddenly have a new option. You can suddenly take the high-speed rail to Guilin, or you can take the high-speed rail to Sichuan or wherever, and it's constantly growing. The harsh reality behind China's high-speed rail. The high-speed rails are incredibly convenient, and it's a fantastic way to travel around China. Traveling by train in China can really be a nightmare.
What a slime ball to flip-flop like that.
Yeah, You know who I wish was detained in Chinese prison right now? I'm sorry, but you know what I mean?
That's good, yeah.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
for the crap that he's pulled on the world. Yeah, Bolsack, I like Bolsack.
Bolsack's,
yeah.
and honestly, I think he was the fall guy. I don't think he was a bad guy.
I think he helped, but he kind of got stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Yes.
You know?
Peter Bolsack, for those of you who don't know, is very, very much responsible for the spread of COVID overseas because he colluded with the Chinese government. Of course, it's the CCP's fault, but he helped in no small amount. So don't never forget the name of Peter Bolsack.
Right. What is that again?
Right.
Yeah, we're going to have to make a new soundbite.
Yes. We should replace. Bolsack will always be there.
No, he'll be there.
But he's almost elevated to a point where I feel bad for him.
Obviously, there's plenty more where that came from, Winston Frederick Sterzel.
There's plenty more where that came from.
By the way, while thinking about making this video, Winston Frederick Sterzel, it brought what I think is a valid question to my mind, Winston Frederick Sterzel. You come across as so ungrateful to China, Winston Frederick Sterzel. There's several videos that I've seen that you made that you clearly indicate your preference for Japan, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Not to mention that anime and cosplay porn are your favorites, Winston Frederick Sterzel. So, Winston Frederick Sterzel, when you had to run away from South Africa, Winston Frederick Sterzel, why didn't you run to Japan instead of China, Winston Frederick Sterzel? I suppose it's somewhat of a rhetorical question, Winston Frederick Sterzel, because we both know why, Winston Frederick Sterzel. It's because back then, Winston Frederick Sterzel, China's visa laws were not being enforced. Not having a college degree, you weren't eligible for a work visa in either country, Winston Frederick Sterzel. China looked the other way while you worked illegally, Winston Frederick Sterzel, all those years. How do you show your appreciation, Winston Frederick Sterzel? Not paying income tax as well, right? You don't show any appreciation, Winston Frederick Sterzel. You show nothing but contempt for China, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Even your YouTube income was supposed to be reported. That's income, right, Winston Frederick Sterzel, while you were living in China, but having the money deposited to Hong Kong, Winston Frederick Sterzel, and you got nothing but contempt for China.
For those of you who don't know, me, I'm a very judgmental person, okay? And I can talk a lot of crap.